Welcome to the deep dive. You've been curious, and frankly, so have we, about this whole world of casual dating. It seems to be everywhere.
It really does.
You sent over a really interesting mix of articles, and what's kind of striking is just how many different ways people seem to define this relationship style.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just one thing.
So let's, unpack it together, see if we can get some clarity on what casual dating actually means today.
Sounds good. Yeah, looking at the sources, BetterHelp talks about it being sort of quasi-romantic interactions,
Yeah.
but crucially without that expectation of commitment
Right.
and potentially dating multiple people at once. Then Brides adds this idea of physical and emotional connection, but again, without the usual demands you'd find in a serious, exclusive thing.
Hmm.
And simply psychology really flags the non-exclusive, non-committed part, often with quite a bit of ambiguity about where things stand.
It's almost like everyone's drawing their own map for it. What really jumped out at me was BetterHelp saying the actual rules are basically made up by the people in it. There's no, official handbook you get handed.
Yeah.
It really boils down to what you and the other person or, people agree on.
That's spot on.
Great.
And the reasons why someone might go down this road just as varied.
Oh, yeah.
Well, BetterHelp mentioned things like exploring intimacy without that immediate pressure, or maybe getting back into dating after a big breakup.
Okay.
Or maybe you're just too busy or something serious, or you want that freedom while you focus on work or study.
Makes sense.
It even pops up in some polyamorous circles, like this concept of relationship anarchy, which is basically, in this context, about building relationships on agreement, not preset labels.
Interesting.
And Brides adds that sometimes it's just about experiencing connection without all the seriousness, maybe practicing your romantic skills
Right.
or figuring out what you actually want.
Yeah. Right. Learning about yourself through dating.
Right.
Okay, so our goal here today is to really dig into the details of casual dating. We want to look at the good, the bad, the potential pitfalls, and hopefully offer some thoughts on how to handle it in a healthy way. So maybe first things first. How is casual dating really different from a serious relationship? Let's draw that line.
Okay, well, BetterHelp gives a pretty clear contrast. Casual dating, think enjoying someone's company right now in the moment, less pressure about the future, fewer heavy expectations, lots of flexibility.
So more present-focused.
Exactly. Whereas serious relationships usually involve a deeper commitment, right? Often exclusivity, talking about the future, building a life together. It's just a different level of investment, emotionally, practically.
Got it. Like renting versus buying a house,
Yeah.
maybe, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah, something like that. A different kind of contract.
Okay, so let's talk upsides. What draws people to this casual approach? Bride's had some thoughts on the benefits.
Yes. Brides points out it can be a really good option for people who just aren't ready for that deep commitment yet.
Like after a breakup?
Exactly. Or maybe they're in a big life transition, new job, new city, and relationships aren't the top priority. Casual dating can kind of take the pressure off. Less anxiety than formal dating sometimes.
And it sounds like it can bring back some, excitement. Brides mentioned the thrill of the chase. Dating different people without feeling tied down.
Yeah, that freedom aspect, keeping your options open, enjoying the process without the weight of obligation.
So you're not closing doors too soon.
Precisely. Especially if you're still figuring out what you're looking for, or if your life just doesn't have space for the time and energy a serious relationship often needs.
Okay, that covers some of the appeal. But like anything, there's got to be a downside, right?
Yeah.
Brides also talk about potential challenges, the pitfall.
Oh, definitely. One of the first things Brides mentions is just the practical side of juggling multiple people.
Like a scheduling.
Yeah, scheduling, remembering who you told what, it can get messy. And it might mean the time you do spend with each person feels a bit thin, less quality time.
And I guess that makes it harder to really connect deeply with anyone.
That's exactly what Brides notes, building real intimacy, that deep emotional connection. It's tough when your focus is split. They also raised a concern about doing it for too long. Like, could it lead to dating burnout or maybe a kind of emotional superficiality?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, or even potentially fostering commitment avoidant habits down the line.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
If you only practice surface level stuff, maybe that becomes your comfort zone. What else did Brides flag as a potential issue?
Well, the classic tricky situation. One person starts catching feelings. They want something more serious, but the other person doesn't.
The mismatch.
Yep. That difference in expectations is a recipe for hurt. And just generally, brides mention that someone might eventually feel kind of emotionally unfulfilled, longing for that deeper connection you usually get in committed relationships.
So your own feelings might change even if the setup doesn't. And BetterHelp seemed to echo that, didn't they? About hurt feelings if communication isn't there.
Absolutely. BetterHelp really stresses that lack of shared understanding can damage things. They also brought up the awkwardness around, like, the unwritten rules.
What kind of rule?
Things like who texts first? How often do you actually see each other? Do you meet friends, family? Definitely not, probably. Do you talk about the future at all?
Right, all that stuff that's usually clearer in serious relationships.
Exactly. Because those norms aren't established, this ambiguity can cause stress, misinterpretations.
And Simply Psychology added another layer too, didn't they? About unequal investment.
Yes, that one person might be secretly hoping for more, even if they don't say it. That seems like a really common thread in all this.
It really does.
And in Simply Psychology also mentioned how our attachment styles, how we tend to connect with people, can complicate things in this ambiguous casual space. Like someone anxious might really struggle with the lack of certainty.
Okay, so we're building a clearer picture now. The what, the why, the pros, the cons. Simply Psychology also laid out some core characteristics of these relationships.
That's right. First big one, lack of formal commitment. No exclusivity promises, no long-term obligations expected.
Okay.
Second, the focus is often just on fun, enjoying time together, maybe physical intimacy, maybe just social stuff.
Gotcha.
And third, flexibility. Fewer expectations about meeting up constantly, constant communication, or making big future plans.
And they had that interesting phrase, stable ambiguity,
Mm-hmm.
quoting Esther Perel. What does that actually mean in practice? Can you unpack that?
Sure. Simply Psychology uses it to describe this sort of middle ground where the relationship gives you just enough connection to maybe keep loneliness away, but not enough real intimacy that you feel truly tied down or, deeply committed. Perel suggests it can feel kind of comfortable, safe almost.
Maybe not fulfilling.
Potentially. It's stable, but it's ambiguous. Enough connection so you're not alone, but maybe not enough vulnerability or depth to really grow or satisfy a deeper need for intimacy. It can become a bit stuck.
Right, a holding pattern. Okay, we've danced around this, but it feels like the absolute key to making any of this work, casual or not, is communication. All the sources hit this hard.
Oh, 100%. BetterHelp is super clear. Open, honest communication from the get-go is vital. Making sure everyone knows what the other person expects, what kind of relationship this actually is.
Like talking about exclusivity or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Having those upfront chats about the ground rules, the intentions. Are we seeing other people? What are we comfortable with? It just heads off so much potential confusion and pain later.
And it's not just a one-and-done conversation, is it? BetterHelp suggested checking in regularly.
Yeah, that's crucial. Things change, right? Feelings evolve, priorities shift, even in casual setups.
Right.
Having those ongoing chats gives you both space to say, hey, is this still working for me? Or my feelings have shifted a bit. And then you decide together what's next. BetterHelp also had that great point. Listen to what's actually said. Don't just read into actions hoping for a hidden meaning.
Good advice. Simply Psychology also talked about needing dialogue to address imbalance, right? If a person feels more invested.
Yes, and they mentioned meta-communication, basically, talking about the relationship itself, which can feel awkward, especially if it's casual. But avoiding it is often worse. Being willing to have those slightly uncomfortable talks about boundaries, expectations, even feelings, shows respect and makes it much less likely someone gets hurt badly.
So bringing all this insight together, what are some real practical tips for someone navigating casual dating? BetterHelp and Brides had some good ones.
Yeah, top of the list from both BetterHelp and Bree Jenkins in Brides. Be super clear about your intentions from the start.
Honesty list.
Total honesty. Don't pretend you want casual if you secretly want serious. And don't lead someone on if you only want casual. Just be straight about it.
And it's not just about your intentions, right?
Yeah.
BetterHelp said, be mindful of the other person's feelings too.
Absolutely. Think about how what you say and do might land with them. And tied to that, be honest with yourself about whether you're actually emotionally ready for a casual thing. Don't jump in hoping they'll change their mind. Or if you know deep down you need more connection than casual usually offers. And BetterHelp also really pushed setting your own boundaries and sticking to them. Know what you are and aren't okay with.
Solid advice for life, really. What else?
BetterHelp reminds us, Never assume sex is expected. Consent is key. Always. Enthusiastic consent.
Always.
They also suggested keeping early dates pretty low-key. Coffee, movies, walks helps maintain that casual feel.
Okay.
Bree Jenkins, in Brides, added practicing ethical sexual intimacy, like being honest if you're seeing multiple people. She also echoed those regular check-ins we mentioned.
Right, the ongoing communication.
Yeah, and being
Okay.
ready to walk away if things just aren't aligned anymore. Plus, just being considerate. Even if you don't have deep romantic feelings, treat the person with courtesy and respect their feelings.
So it really boils down to honesty, respect, communication, and boundaries. Seems simple, but probably hard in practice sometimes.
Very true.
Now, the big question I bet a lot of listeners have: can casual dating actually become a serious relationship? Brides and Simply Psychology weighed in?
Yes, they did. And the answer seems to be maybe. Bree Jenkins in Bride said it's possible if both people are honest about their feelings changing and both want to shift gears towards something serious.
So it takes two.
Absolutely. Simply Psychology also acknowledged it can sometimes be like a stepping stone, what BetterHelp called the seeing each other phase, maybe.
Uh-huh. But it sounds like you shouldn't really go into casual dating planning for it to become serious.
That seems to be the general advice, yeah. Better to be open to the possibility, maybe, but don't make it your primary goal. That sets you up for disappointment.
Right.
And BetterHelp made an interesting point about breakups. Whether ending a casual thing feels like a real breakup really depends on the expectations and boundaries you both set up.
That makes total sense. If it was clearly defined as low commitment, the ending might feel different. Okay, one last area Simply Psychology touched on was emotional detachment. This feels important.
It really is. They pointed out how things like hookup culture or even just how we communicate digitally now might encourage a bit more emotional distance. Like maybe being vulnerable feels like weakness sometimes. But crucially, they also remind us that deeper feelings can still develop even if it started casually.
Right, you can't always control feeling.
Exactly. And things like jealousy or insecurity can definitely still show up. So it's about understanding yourself. Are you prepared for that potential detachment or the possibility that feelings will get involved, yours or theirs?
So as we wrap up this deep dive on casual dating, wow, it really is complex, isn't it?
Yeah.
So many variations, just like the sources showed. No single right way.
Not at all. Whether it works for you really comes down to your own needs, what you want right now, and crucially, how well you can communicate about it.
And it seems like, threading through everything we read and discussed, the absolute must-haves are that honest communication, knowing yourself, what you want, what you need, and just basic respect for the other person.
Couldn't agree more. That's the foundation for navigating it healthily, whatever your end goal might be.
So as you, our listener, think about everything we've talked through today, that balance between freedom and connection. Maybe take a moment to ask yourself, what does a truly fulfilling relationship dynamic actually look like for you right now in this phase of your life?
Good question to ponder.
Definitely. Keep exploring your own preferences, your boundaries. Thanks for diving deep with us today.